Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lydia Lee, and for those who are new here, this episode is part of my interview series where I speak to business owners who've left conventional careers to create meaningful businesses that actually support their lifestyle. So these conversations are all about showing you what's possible when you build a business that's intentionally designed around the life that you want. And as you all know, I am a big believer in the tiny business philosophy, the idea that you can be tiny but mighty, where smaller can be more sustainable, more profitable, and honestly, sometimes more enjoyable than just constantly scaling and hustling. So today, I'm really excited to chat with my friend, Lucie Hautreux, who embodies this approach beautifully. She is a business finance partner and executive coach who's also known as the financial psychologist because of her unique ability to bridge the gap between numbers, emotions, and decision making. So Lucie transitioned from a 15-year corporate finance career to build her own business. And what really resonated with me is how she's designed her business to intentionally avoid burnout and create a lot more harmony in her life. So we're going to learn a little bit more about her signature process called Date Your Finances. We're going to dig into this a bit more in the conversation, and about Lucie's passion about removing financial anxiety and turning numbers into empowering tools for both business growth and also personal well-being. Welcome to the show, Lucie.
Thank you, Lydia. I'm so excited to be here and having this conversation.
And I wish we were having this conversation live in person because we both are actually most of the time based in Bali. So we're going to have a second part of this convo somewhere a little bit more tropical for both of us too.
Exactly. As you said, most of the time. And right now is not the time we are in Bali.
Yeah, you're in Sydney, I'm in Hanoi. So, it's great that we're still in kind of similar time zones, which is really nice so that both of us don't have to wake up in crazy hours in the morning to talk to each other. I kind of want to start with, your personal story because I always love hearing about how people kind of got where they got to. My audience is always eager to learn about like how did that transition sort of happen for people, especially when you've been in a corporate career for such a long time and to really find ways to repurpose your skills, repurpose your expertise, into a more meaningful path. I kind of want to ask about your transition. You sort of transitioned about from your sort of demanding 15-year corporate career to entrepreneurship. And also one of the things you told me was that you made a promise to yourself that the business wouldn't be your entire life. And you wanted to make it a priority to like prioritize your relationships, your family, your friends. So can you kind of tell us a bit more about that transition journey to entrepreneurship and what you've learned along the way about the ideal business that you wanted to start?
Yeah, amazing question. So basically, me in corporate was probably like most of the people. I was always feeling that I'm not valued for my skill and my expertise. I was always having this feeling of I'm underpaid and I'm over delivering or I'm over, passionate about what I do and giving. And at the end of the day, I was never feeling like this is fair. And I kind of step into the business as a business owner by mistake. Like I went to eat a gelato in Bali, and at the time, my only wish was, I would love to have a good excuse to stay in Bali. And as I went to eat a gelato, I met this business owner that was really struggling with invoices and having his really like this finger in his head, and it's like, oh my God, I'm struggling. And then I started to support him to organize his business with his finances and all of that. And this has been the beginning of my journey as a what we will call a freelancer, and then became a real business after all. But I was just supporting someone with my skill. And for once, it felt so good to be able to bring value to someone, to a business, and feel like, oh my God, I have accomplished something. Like many people running a business, I also burn out in my business. I was overworking 7 days a week, and I was living in Bali, so it was very big contrast with everyone was living there and enjoying sunset and easy life and going to the gym, and my life was just work, work, work. And COVID hit. I moved to Australia. I went back to corporate, and then again, I burn out. And at the same feeling that I was unsatisfied between all the effort I was putting in my job. And I arrived at the point where it was a Tuesday morning, I was on the computer typing an email in the office, and suddenly my brain just froze. I had a white page. At that moment, I got freaking scared. I was like, what's going on? My brain doesn't work. I'm losing everything, it's kind of losing my whole life if I cannot, use my brain anymore. But that moment was also a wake-up call into, okay, I need a change. I need a way to live life in a way where it's more balanced between what I do, doing what I love, basically, but also my health, having free time for my health. And something that I also wanted so much at the time, it was a relationship. So it was not just about feeling fulfilled at work, it was about being happy and joyful in my whole life. And at that moment, I started to work on relaunching a business while still having this job because I couldn't live like this. I remember doing the promise that you mentioned that there's no way I'm going to again just do business. I want it all. I want harmony. I want freedom of my time, but also my location and freedom of my action and peace of mind, really peace of mind. For me, work is super important. I love what I do. I love bringing value to people. I love solving problems. I love being a leader and bringing a vision to life, not just doing work. So it's where I really shifted with more intentional for my second business on, and this has been 3 or 4 years ago now, 4 years maybe, where, okay, how I can move in my life, the business, like how I can build a business, but also how I can build better connection with my friends, my family, and open up for love, for relationships. Has been a journey. I won't lie. When you shift something that is get hard, like play hard type of things, toward more how I can be more intentional and moving with flow and ease in everything. And has been a journey, but it's so rewarding. Like now I'm making way more money than before, but I'm spending less time than before. And I also have this real freedom that, being able to be in Sydney now because I don't want to be in Bali right now, having, deciding with who you want to work, choosing your clients, and choosing the people you want to partner with. And this is really beautiful, like meaningful and vibrant, like really the seeing life in its fullness, I would say.
Thank you for sharing that beautiful story. I mean, you and I have a really similar story about burnout, right? In corporate first, and then we have that second burnout in business. And we connected over that, right? Was that sometimes, and I said, you can take the girl out of corporate, but sometimes that corporate cage and that mindset, can follow you as an entrepreneur, except that you're now the boss and there's no one to blame but yourself and in our behaviors and all that, right? And I know that going through my own second burnout, as you have as well, that was a painful moment in my life, of like, oh my God, I'm here again. It's almost like a even more deeper disappointment than my first burnout in corporate, was that how did I not learn, from that reality and brought it into, my, even at the time it was 2015, my highest revenue year, things were like really great on paper, but internally it was so much effort, so much energy, so much stress in order to make those numbers work, in order to I was like launching 8 times a year and having so many products to offer and, things that I thought I had to do as a coach, to be a multi-6-figure coach. And that really like took so much out of me, but at that moment in time was the sort of crossroad that I think I needed to be in order to reevaluate and really think about like, can I see myself continuing this kind of hustle for the next 5 to 10 years? Like I may not make it that amount of time. And what's the whole point of being a business owner if this was the kind of level of anxiety and stress, that I was going to be experiencing? So during that time, I was looking at all the things that was not bringing me joy in my business world, which are things like realizing I didn't want to manage a team. I had 2 full-time staff. I had multiple offers that I didn't have time to even host them properly because I was marketing for them constantly, that I remember saying to a friend, I was like, I've turned from being a coach to a marketer. And now I'm like, that's not what I was paid to do. But here I am taking on strategies, taking on tactics that were taught to me to be a viral, you know what I mean? Like just like really going bigger and more clients, more this and more that. And actually none of that was really giving me that what you call harmony in my life. So I'm curious to hear about your experience too, like going through that second burnout. What did you do differently when you relaunched your business? Like what made the biggest difference in your decisions, your choices, your mindset that helped you to then relaunch a better business that's more in alignment with your values, your lifestyle, and this definition of harmony?
I think I didn't have choices anymore. I don't like to say that because I'm a true believer that we always have choices. And I had choices. I want to say that life gave me a wake-up call, and then it was my body, my health was like alerting me as soon as I would go off track. I remember I signed up a client maybe 6 months after I launched my business, and it was a commitment to do 3 days a week. And then within the month, I kind of re-burn out. Like this really post-traumatic stress came back. And I was like, I couldn't handle that anymore. And I was like, oh my God, I need to shift something. It's when I flew from Sydney to Bali in 24 hours. I decided I need a break. I need to reground myself. I need to realign. And those words may not be so meaningful to some people, but it's about grounding yourself. It's like if you imagine a tree, and this tree doesn't have its roots anymore. So the tree won't last, you may stay a little bit straight and then a little bit of wind and this tree is gone. When us as human beings, we do need to be grounded. We do need to have those roots within the ground to feel a fuel and energy coming in and going through our body. And I was not grounding anymore at that time. And I remember arriving in Bali, and for the first time in my life, I got lost in Bali. It's like I never get lost in my life. So it's how much I was tired and kind of out of what is good for me. At that moment, I'm really like, oh my God, I made a promise to myself. And then I take a client and then straight away I'm burning out. Like, my body doesn't give me like a year anymore. It's giving me like not even a month. So I started to kind of listen more to what I was experiencing within my body, how I feel, what could be some thought I have, how do I sleep? I always say that I'm supporting my clients to sleep better, because if you are not sleeping well, it's because something is bothering you. You are worrying about the future. You're maybe still holding some stuff from the past. You're maybe stressed about numbers and financial pressure, and then you are not going to make the right decision. So it's at that moment that I'm like, okay, I need to recenter. I need to gain clarity. How do I want to experience this business? And my promise to myself was really to balance between family, friends, a love relationship, my health, having a workout, and having some fun in life, and also working with passion, because it's who I am. I understood at that moment that I must dedicate time for all those things. If I do only work, my body is going to stop. So I started to be really more aware about, okay, what do I need? And 3 months later, I decided to pack all my stuff in a storage in Australia and to travel all around the world with one suitcase for 16 months, just because I wanted to feel again freedom of being able to travel, doing something that I love, and reconnecting with the people that I know, my friends and my family all around the world, because it was just after COVID. So I was also missing those interaction in person. And just by deciding that, I've been able to actually have better financial stability while really having a great quality of life. Even though my business was slow to pick up, it was a way better strategy than all the digital marketing strategy that I tried and I learned about. So it was similar, and I knew that you need to know what is the right fit for you. And as you, I'm not a marketer. I understand all those techniques. I'm someone very authentic, I would say, and I do something from a space of love and caring. And I, like, of course, I want to grow my business, but I want to grow my quality of life every single moment. And this is more my definition of success than growing a business and doubling my revenue and all those things. And what I noticed by my experience is more you're growing your quality of life, more your actually revenue and profits gonna grow. So it's
Yeah,
how
I
I've
love
been
that.
able to, yeah.
I mean, what I really love about that, which is something that I took a while to do when I had that burnout, was like even giving myself permission to take that necessary pause from the business to not, my type A brain's like, oh, this is not working, let's fix it, let's find a solution right away, which comes from this desperate energy, of like working and taking action right away. And sometimes there's good timing for taking imperfect action for sure, but in that particular scenario for me, I actually needed to almost take stock and kind of audit, like, how, and what you said, right? What's the experience I want to have with my business rather than what am I just giving to my business? What's my business giving back to me, right? In order to have the life that I want, right? And as you said, sometimes that's a bit slower to start and less revenue to start. But if you're building it intentionally, right? If you're taking conscious, intentional choices that support the life that you want to have, that's going to, in the long run, in the bigger picture of things, be a lot more productive in a way, right? Than kind of just like, what's the next thing I have to do in order to repair this? So having that space between you and the problem, and just even like, simplifying your life, right? Like having that one suitcase, putting things in storage, deciding to prioritize where you travel to, in order to be around friends and family, help to define your schedule, help to define what comes first before your business comes next, right? And having that more life first approach. So I love hearing that about your story too. I kind of want to ask with you, because when you talk about like you earn more money than you have before, right? By making these decisions, right? Or steps, right? To kind of allow your business to be in more flow, be in more of a harmonious way to your life. When you've worked with your clients or even yourself, when you've determined what's your definition of success, what I call like what's enough, what does enough look like financially for us, where that sweet spot of where your business supports your ideal life, how have you defined what enough looks like for you in terms of enough clients, enough revenue, enough work hours, so that you have spaciousness in your calendar for your hobbies and all these other things that you love in your life?
I actually switched from the word enough to I have more than enough.
More than enough. Yeah, love that.
Especially with the relationship with time, because I'm someone that was always, okay, I need to make the most of my time. Life can be short. Like I lost people when I was early age. So I know that life is precious. And what I love about time is we are all equal. We are all rich every day of 24 hours. So it's really about how you make the most of your time. But over the year, I really shifted into I have more than enough time, more than enough money to do what I love. And that is kind of even bringing more expansion into what you already have. Because I don't work with, okay, how much money is enough to have right now? I start always from the hand, from the dream. How much money would you love? What is the lifestyle that you would love? I'm convinced that a lot of people are not living their dream life because they think it's unaffordable. How much costs the life that they want? And this lifestyle, maybe, you want to go for a massage every other day or every week or once a month. And then you want to be able to escape winter and move to another country for 3 months. Whatever your dream is, I would say it's possible. You need a price tag on that dream. You need to know how much is the house you would love to buy. And then after, we look at how we can make it happen. So if we always run after making more money, you're going nowhere. The most important thing is what type of life you want to live. I know for me, freedom is very important. Having choices is very important. For me, I built my second business not to be location dependent because my first business was only based in Indonesia. All my clients were in Indonesia, and when COVID happened, I lost 90% of my business. So it was so important that my new business was not dependent of where I am in the world. Meaning that today my home base is Bali, but who knows, a year from now, I may move to Sydney, or I may move to Tokyo, or I don't know, to Canada, maybe too cold Canada. But
Yes.
what I mean is you need to know what you want. And this is the secret in life. It's not about making more money to make more money. You will always need more money because more you have money, more you spend. I'm telling you, even me, I spend more money when I have more money. It's normal because when you get more money, you feel like, okay, now I can finally go more to this restaurant or I can treat myself better, and you will spend more money. But when you know that, for example, your dream is to have this home and then you need a certain amount for the deposit, I'm promising you, you are going to find the money way faster than not knowing how much is this deposit. So it's the same with a lifestyle that maybe you want to move 3 months a year abroad and living in a different country. Have a look, how much does it cost to have an Airbnb like for you in Hanoi or like me in Sydney? How much does it cost? And then there are plenty of ways nowadays to do home exchange or to do house sitting and not even pay rent. So it's way closer. This dream is way closer to you if you look at how much does it cost to make it happen, because after the how is so easy.
I like your point about like putting every dollar you make should have a purpose, not just about this is the, arbitrary number I pull from the air because someone said this number means I'm rich, because rich
Right.
is even the idea of what's rich, who feels rich is so different, for different people. I have clients that sometimes they want to just cap themselves at 70 grand because they own their house. They want a tiny house by the beach. And that's their definition of success. So they're like, I don't need to make more than this amount. And I only want to work 10 hours a week. And that's their definition of richness. For other clients, it's more. It's 500,000 or 250,000 or 100,000, right? That number is so different for different people. But if it isn't grounded upon your own data of what am I making this money for and how much does it really cost for me to have that ideal life that I want, and instead I'm just thinking that if I just make more, I'll just have that dream, which is sort of the backwards way of thinking about it, right? And sometimes when you do that calculation, especially if you're doing a lifestyle that have you moving strategically to different places in the year, or being a minimalist of like not constantly on Amazon and being a capitalist and spending all this money on buying stuff, you might you actually realize sometimes your baseline needs of a shelter, home, food, things like that are not beyond reach, right? And even having that number allows you to price yourself properly, know how many clients you need for that lifestyle. Like I'm thinking about myself when I went from the financial enoughness of just paying myself, right? That's the first thing. I need to pay myself. And that was a great goal to have when I first started my business. And then it was like, okay, after I've paid myself and paid off my business expenses, and then how do I manage my money properly so that I know not only when I take that holiday to Hanoi or when I go on a workation to Lisbon for 2 months, or I visit my aging aunt in Malaysia, 80 years old, and I'm not going to be working very much that month. How do I ensure that I'm not just dipping into savings or dipping into my credit cards or going into debt for those holidays, right? But actually everything that I do in terms of the profit I make in my business, to what I charge, how much I pay myself, how much I dedicate to the buckets of holiday, for example, they're almost prepaid ahead of time. Right. And that was actually a game changer for me because I was so used to just paying myself and then let's say, having less money when I went on holiday, instead of actually thinking about that ahead of time of like my life includes that I live in Bali, in Vancouver, in one wildcard country every year, go back to Malaysia to see my family. All those things are part of my number, right? Of what's going to give me the best life every year until further notice, and having that number as a tool to then make decisions in my business of how do I get to that number in the most easeful way felt a lot more like easier, as you said, right? Than going the other way and hoping for the best.
Yeah, it's where it's so important to be dating your finances. It's where I call date your finances my business, because it's about I notice a lot of people are really scared about numbers or not even looking at their bank account. But let's see if numbers as a friend. You need to build up a friendly relationship with numbers, where numbers are a tool, like you say. Numbers are here to help you, to support you, to be on your side. Really start to see numbers as your friend. And my approach is a lot about zooming out, whatever in business or in numbers or in time management, is zoom out, see the whole picture. And as you say, for your example, Lydia, where over a year you are sometimes in Bali, sometimes in Canada, sometimes in Malaysia, and sometimes somewhere else. So you cost price this whole lifestyle, more or less, based on what you love, how much care and what is the level of luxury you would love during those trips. Are you flying business? Are you flying eco? All those things. And you price tag this lifestyle based on what you know already from your behavior. So it's where dating is so nice, is because you can have a look to how much money you make, how much money you spend, and what are the trends. Because if we don't look at numbers, we have a false idea. Oh yeah, maybe I spend around that. But when you look at numbers, I call my spreadsheet a magical spreadsheet. When I look at numbers, I can see, okay, actually, well, yeah, I'm spending this amount of money for my rent, and more or less this in groceries, and more or less this in dining out, and more or less that in travel expenses. Or if I have a lifestyle in Sydney, it's gonna cost me a bit more than in Bali. So I kind of know how much is my lifestyle everywhere, like in the countries that I know where I've been living. But then I can, know better myself, and this is a very important point. And then provide to myself what I need to feel good, to have a good lifestyle. And then, as you say, you translate this into the business. How much time you want to dedicate? Are you working every single day? Are you working every week or 1 week off per month? Are you working 2 months full and 1 month off? Whatever is the rhythm, everything is possible. Some people uh, work 10 hours. Some people want to work 30 hours. Whatever. There is no right numbers. It's what you would love. But you need to know how many hours, what is the lifestyle that you want. Because the solution, the decision, the options are not the same if you have 10 hours or 20 hours, if you want to have a big team or no team, if you want to sell product and have a good marketing stuff. And so there's so many options today to make money. Just need to know what is sustainable and suitable for you as a person, and what is me, maybe not, even though we are really similar, the same as Lydia, or the same as the one that listened today. So it's really about getting to know more yourself and translating this in business and financial.
Yeah, I love the date your finances thing, because before I even met you, like one of the things that really supported me to be more financially accountable to my life, because I was that girl, when I left corporate in 2012, many years ago, where I used to pay, my credit cards or bank accounts, with literally a hand over the total, online, because I didn't want to face the numbers, because it felt shameful. It felt guilty. It felt like, oh, I don't want to face the things that have happened for me to get to this hole. And then what would happen is that I would be unbeknownst to me, I would have fraud done on my accounts that I never realized for months. I would be not accountable to paying off my credit cards on time, even though I could have done that if I consolidated properly. Just being really deeper with facing the numbers with some courage, because at the time I didn't know how to ask for help. It was just that overwhelming emotion of shame, which I think happens to a lot of people when they think about money, because money pertains to and links to a little bit about their self-worth, what they're valued at. And that can be kind of sometimes a sensitive, if you will, subject for people to face, right? But I do know that when I did get some help from a financial coach, and one of the things she had me do, which is exactly your name of your business, was have a date with your money every week. So even till today, and that's been almost 7 years since I've hired her, and my entire business have changed. I have on Fridays from 3 to 3:30, it's called an I love money date on my calendar in green with lots of money bag emojis. And it's just a time for me to go into my account, see what's going on, be grateful for the invoice I just sent, just really like sit with the feelings of making money an ally, rather than this enemy I don't understand. And if something did go wrong, it's okay too, because that's a time every week for me to catch anything that has gone south, or I need to make more this month and I haven't looked at my revenue properly, or sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm $1,000 away from my revenue goal, and it gives me that extra inspiration just because I know where the numbers are at to call some of my old clients and see who needs a renewal, and that instigates the action of wanting, to be closer to money, to have more money, which is also a really beautiful ritual that has enhanced my life. But I also want to kind of learn about, like, as you've worked with different people, as you say, right, you're a financial psychologist, or you're known as a financial psychologist, because money brings up so much emotion, so much feeling, so much somatic reaction to when we talk about money. What do you think have been some of the financial mindsets or setbacks people could experience most commonly that would limit entrepreneurs from creating a business that truly supports their life?
Yeah, I think it's really about, we hear a lot online now, become financially free. And I don't believe this. In my journey, I learned early stage in life that money can be the source of a lot of problem, but it's never actually the real problem. Money is it's a perfect excuse. Don't get me wrong on that. I know some people are going to may potentially being in a financial stress and all of that. I have been there, but money is a tool, and what is important, especially as women, it's to be financially independent. And what I want to say, what is to be independent is really this self-monitoring, this self-control of over our finances to understand where we are at. And what I love about numbers is what you had spent before, like in the past, is done. Yeah, you cannot change anything. You may be able to claim some money back or stuff like that, but most of the time you cannot change that. But you can learn from that. And it's what I love about data, even about life in general, is let's learn from the past to be able to make better decisions for the future, to build up the future that we want. So I see numbers as a big source of gift, of insight, of intel that's gonna help me, help everyone to, okay, how I can make better decisions today that's gonna influence my future. So when we are able to zoom out from the emotional things and to really look at numbers from a place of, let's get some analytics. Let's tell me something that I didn't know about myself that I would love to know so I can do better in the future. So you are not self-judging yourself. It's what I tell all my clients, like, don't be hard on you. What happened, you just didn't know. But today you have the power to change. Today you have the power to make better decisions, or decisions are more aligned with what you want. So just learn from that. Another point is when we move from a paycheck to being our own boss, we don't have financial stability, except if you are a contractor and you have a retainers and stuff like that. But let's say for most of the businesses, you won't have a financial stability. So it's even more important to be financial independent. It's because you monitor, so you know where you are going, and you are not just focused in 1 month, you are opening to over a year what is happening. So I don't budget, I don't believe in budget, but I know how much is my living cost. I know how much money is going to come over the next few months because of the current engagement I have with people. And then I know as well when I may be in trouble if I don't bring more revenue. So I get just intel that help me, support me, but the things where I've been shifted a lot the last few years is I actually remove finance and numbers from my decision. Meaning that, hey, I don't know, I would love to move to Italy for 3 months. Do I have the finances for doing it? Maybe, maybe not, or maybe not at all. But this is not the question I ask myself anymore. I ask myself first, would I love to spend 3 months in Italy this year? Would I love to have a house big enough to maybe welcome my friends or my family and have like a place where people can get there? And me having my office there for 3 months and feel at home. Would I love that? If it's a yes, then I'm going to look through at the second question, how much does it cost to make it happen, ideally? And then the third question will be how I make it happen. And then when it's the same from, I don't know, a friend is inviting you to go for a weekend away. I don't know, I organized last year a girl trip in Marrakesh for 5 days. And I told my friend, let's go, it's going to be amazing. I organized, we split cost is about, I don't remember the price, but I say a price. And I asked them, would you love to come? And I know a lot of people have straight away, oh, how much does it cost? I may not have the finances. But this is not the right question to ask yourself. It's first, would you love this? Is this aligned with what is important for you this year? Do you want to be out of home? Do you want to connect with your friend? Is it this important for you this year? And sometimes it's not important because maybe you want to buy your house. So of course, this is not the priority. But if it's something, it's a big heck yes, and from your space, it's so important to ask yourself this first. And then let's see later on how much does it cost. And if you don't have the finances straight away, how I can get this money around. And usually you have like just a few different spending to stop to make this trip happening. You may stop going for shopping again and having more clothes than you already have in your wardrobe, and then you don't need to actually go for this trip with your girlfriend. So it's where it's super important in life, and I've been seeing my life shifting from that perspective, removing the money part first and asking myself if I would love. So I would encourage everyone. I know it's gonna stretch. I know it's gonna be uncomfortable, but you still have the ownership of your life. And if the finances is not good, you can always say no after. But just allow yourself to ask if it's something you would love. It's the energy is so different.
Yeah, I was just going to say that that's such a beautiful point because a lot of the times we're more practical about it, which there's nothing wrong with. Obviously, we don't want to like be frivolous either, where it's like saying yes to every financial expense and going, I think I have the money and then going into debt because of it, right? But there's also something beautiful about giving yourself permission to want that thing, to say that that's the ideal sequence of events I want in my life, when I was thinking about like having multiple homes in the world, right? And there was a long time ago where I was like, that's not possible. I can barely figure out how to be in one place right now, right? But it's like, no, forget the logical brain for a second. But if you were to be in your heart and in your soul of like, money is not an object, but it's like, what do you want? How do you feel when you have that kind of life, right? Just even inviting those different emotions of aligning those emotions to that goal, to that desire can be a really powerful motivating factor, that then the logical head can come into play to make those steps happen. But it's almost like the head can't dream. It's full of rules and what's conditioned of our behavior from the past and what other people told us is possible or not possible, right? But the heart kind of never lies. It wants, and it wants what brings you joy. However you get there, it'll be there, but it's not thinking about those sort of logical sequences. But there's kind of, I always say, they're siblings, right? The head and the heart. They kind of, as part of a family, we have both, and we have to kind of realize how to parent both of them, of knowing when to activate the heart, when to activate the brain, because not each time, they're both kind of proper for the role. But you're absolutely right about, like, when I started allowing myself to not focus so much on the how and more focus on why I want this thing. How is it going to bring me joy? How my quality of life improve, and how I show up as a better version of myself from having those things. Then that goal becomes less of like a far away thing, right? But something that I actually want to prioritize in my life today.
Yeah, and what I want to add into exactly this is, it's not about saying yes to everything that comes to you. It's really knowing what is your 1 year goal. I don't really like the word goal, but what is important to you for you this year? It's knowing that first. It's this clarity about what is a successful year for you. And then when you have opportunities coming to you, asking if you would love that. But it should be aligned with that goal. It's not about just being frugal and spending money. I don't use a credit card. It's where it's super important for me. Being financially independent is, being able to manage money. And I'm a single, a woman living abroad and not having backup of family or anything, or a rich husband to kind of take care of me. So what is super important is being aligned and not taking risk, unjustified risk. I always take, I would say, calculated risk.
Yeah.
So I go through the process where money is coming in the process. But what I mean is not the first question. Because, I signed up for a adventure club in the US 3 months ago. If I just listen to my rational brain, it's crazy amount of money. I'm living at the other side of the world. It's traveling 4 times a year there. It just doesn't make any sense. But my heart was a big yes. I don't know why yet, but
Whole body, yes.
I asked for more adventure. So for sure, Adventure Club was spot on. But what I mean is, if you do things just based on our logical mind, it doesn't work. So our brain is powerful, and we need to use it, as you say, with the heart. And for me, the heart's coming first. And then the logical brain is helping us to materialize, to put your dream into a reality. I work, and I've since to be a lot on holidays from social media, but I do work a lot. Not a lot, but I do work. I have a structure. I date my finances. I have a really practical approach to life. I really do things that support my lifestyle. But it's true, if you just look at my Instagram, you may think, oh my God, Lucie is traveling again, what she's doing, and all of that. And you may think that I'm just on holidays. But actually, my kind of lifestyle is being half working, half holiday. I call myself half retired, because I've seen people being retired so late, not healthy, and having money, but then cannot enjoying anymore. So I'm like, I'm going to do both right now. So it's where money can be at service, is where your brain can be at service for your life. But the heart needs to be first, and it's what we are not used to yet. And I hope with Lydia and me, we are going to change the world.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for that. And I want people to come out of this conversation knowing, like, it's not just a practice. Because I think when we talk money, we're like, okay, give me the spreadsheet, give me the formula, give me the exact number, blah, 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 I need to do to make this make sense. But a lot of times, as you say, it's a bit of an inner world, outer world game, it's a bit of head and heart. And that part that I think a lot of people are missing is that permission to dream, permission to put a cost to that dream. Do that. Sometimes I find even doing that research, like, so for example, I think I've told you this, my partner and I are building a house this year. We're not taking out a traditional mortgage. We're paying everything in cash. Like, it's a bit of a stretch for us as well, like to build something from scratch. But a lot of the back work or the historical work I've done to set my finances, right? Because I've been dating my finances, to be ready for this opportunity, even though I wasn't even, right? I started this years ago, right? Of like having a goal of like having a home that I can design, which is something that's always been a part of, like I'm not a design, I don't want to sell furniture. I don't want to sell homes. I just want to do my own, and be my own artist in my home. And I never knew when that was going to happen, but I knew that that was a dream I want to fulfill, right? And not be owing money to a traditional mortgage that keeps me trapped in a particular location, for example, right? And so even though I didn't know when that goal was going to activate, it was like I just intentionally, actively every month, a percentage of my revenue gets put into my dream home bucket. Literally, there's a bucket called like dream home with again, I love emojis, lots of celebration party emojis on it. And that's where I see it grow. And then when the moment came to invest in a piece of land, it was like, I have enough for the deposit. I have enough to start construction. Like it wasn't waiting till when the dream showed up to me physically, then I started saving the money. It was like doing it as if I'm having it soon. And that really made a difference in making that a reality for my life, for sure.
It's where fake it until you make it is right. I don't really like fake it in a way, but this is where it's supporting us. It's like you have a dream, you want to make it happen. You need to start acting as it's going to happen. I'm taking an example totally outside of money. I want to share more my message. I want maybe one day to be speaker on stage. I've done it in smaller stages, but I'm like, yeah, I see myself maybe one day in a big stage, or to do a TEDx. I'm like, I'm not waiting to receive this invitation. I don't know if it's gonna come through. I hired like 6 months ago a speaking coach, and I'm working on the speech. The deadline is April 15, and I'm going to be ready by then. I just don't know if I will be on stage in April 15. The date came to me, and like, I don't know, but I'm ready. I'm getting myself ready for that. So it's the same with money. It's the same with whatever you want in life. And it's a good game going back to this clarity. What is it? For me, has been some time, it's like, I just want a good excuse to stay in Bali, whatever the good excuse would be. Sometimes it's something else. So it doesn't matter how big or how, life-changing your desire is. But start having clarity in that, because I promise it's going to shift your life.
Beautiful. I could talk to you for days about this topic, but I want to kind of conclude our conversation with kind of a little bit of rapid fire key questions I wanted to ask you very quickly before we tell people where to find your work. One of the things I'm curious to hear about for you, when you look into the near future, could be 6 months, a year, 5 years ahead, how do you continue to, or how will you continue to evolve your business to support your definition of success?
I'm in a big reflection time where is my role and how I can support the best my client. And I already kind of started having answer where it's not about having millions of clients, but more a bunch of clients where I go very deep with. So it's allowing to pause, to reflect, to ask myself the same, how I would love this business to be. And I will also, again, going back to how much time I want to dedicate, how impactful I want, and how I can bring the most value to my clients. It's not so much today about how much money I need, like even though I have the dream of having a solo retreat center and all of that need a big investment. I want to do it from a place of enjoyment and a place of love and all those things. So it's more like how I can support my client in the best journey. And I'm redefining this at the moment. Really, like not redefining, but going deeper and how I can support.
I love that. All right. Second question is, what does screwing the cubicle mean to you personally? And how do you think you've done it from leaving corporate?
Yeah, betting on I need to restart a business. Getting from a working visa in Australia to a student visa at the age of 35 years old. And I was like, you have to do what you have to do. But it was like, I need my freedom. Freedom was a big, big motivation. And I'm like, I'm tired of have to ask my boss for a day off. And I don't want this anymore.
Mm. I think that was one of the key factors where when I couldn't tend to a family member who was ill and I had to send in a vacation request for an emergency. I was like, that is so not how I want to tend to my relationships and nurture them. I want to be able to do that when I can, for sure. Okay, and lastly, where can our audience kind of connect with what you have been talking about, learn more about what it means to date their finances? Do you have a particular tool or a place that on your website or what you give away that could be really helpful as kind of that first step, especially for people who are feeling overwhelmed right now by like, where do I start with my finances? Like, I love the idea of dating my finances, but like, where am I starting here? What's kind of the main, like, simplest, most easeful way for them to get started?
Yeah, I have an amazing 45 minutes masterclass on how to become friends with finances. So I would love to share this with your audience. And as well, I'm a big lover of writing love letters. So it's kind of inspiration about life and how about living a slow life. And those are my love letters. So I would love to share this with your people and just reach out. I'm on all platform, but I guess the most authentic ways to be with me is either the masterclass or the love letters, because it's where I share really what's happening in my life, my experiences, and how I can support others as well.
Perfect. And so we're going to be sharing in the descriptions below where to find Lucie's website, how to take her free masterclass. I've already taken a sneak peek at what she covers in that masterclass, and it's awesome. It's something I wish I saw years ago when I was struggling as well. And I think it's a very beautiful way that people can connect with you, because I think teaching that framework and teaching how to implement that in their lives is so important, especially after listening to this conversation. And I think anyone who's ever like tried to deal with this on their own, or tried to go more of a traditional route to a financial advisor, let's say, to deal with their finances, and came out of it feeling frustrated that they're not feeling seen or heard, or that emotional piece of money that wasn't included with that experience. Lucie, I think, has this really beautiful blend of practicality, which is really what we need too, and this heart centered way of approaching money with a much more like aligned way of how we feel and building that relationship with money that's so important for years to come. So thank you, Lucie, for sharing your wisdom today and your story, and hopefully we get to do this again somewhere sunny.
Yeah, with love, with pleasure, and like don't get lost in this journey. There is for anyone to be able to learn. And I'm bringing a group together every kind of 6 months where I teach people how to become friends with finances. And it's just a beautiful journey that unfolds, and it's really affordable and for everyone to really get this practical approach, but also the right mindset of opening and expanding and finally living their life that they really wish for. So
Amen. And on that note, thank you so much for being here today.
thank
Hope
you.
you guys get a chance to check out Lucie's work and hopefully, work with her as your guide to start the step. It's always better to do it together than all by yourself. And I love the work you're doing. And thank you so much for your time today.